Modern day human cloning, science fact or science fiction? And if you could sell your soul, would you? Should you? Join us as we jump down the rabbit hole next on Conspiracy Corner.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? We're gonna have a problem here. We're gonna have a problem here.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Tonight, I have Nikki B in the house with me from beginning to end. Nikki, you want to say hi to the folks?
What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing?
Hey, what's going on, brother? Glad to have you on. We got a hot one tonight, do we not?
We do. This is actually something that's really cool. You and I have known each other for quite a long time, and we've talked about this on numerous occasions.
Sure.
I'm excited to do this show about it because, I just don't think mainstream people really know what goes around them.
No, man, I'm hoping that we can open some eyes tonight with this, or maybe just give people a little peek into the rabbit hole with cloning and cloning facilities. And, we can touch a little bit on, I don't want to get too deep into it, but we can touch a little bit maybe even on, the selling of souls or soul swapping or pledging allegiance to sides or entities from either other dimensions or, dare I say, heaven and hell,
right?
Been tugged on. But anyways, I thought I'd give everybody a little brief breakdown if you don't know about cloning. Cloning is basically the process of producing genetically identical individuals, naturally or artificially. And you do this by copying cells or DNA. One of the most famous names that I can think of that everyone might recognize is Dolly the sheep. She was all over the news there for a long time. I don't know. Do you remember that, Nick?
Yeah, didn't they do that like in Europe or something like that?
And what's funny is that's not the first time in what we would call the modern era that something had been cloned. And I'll get into that in just a little bit. First, I want to touch on, there's like 4 main types of cloning. I learned this just doing a little bit of research. I didn't even know. I just thought cloning was cloning. But they have what they call natural cloning, which is the actual natural process in nature. Things like fungus, moss, bacteria, plants, they can naturally clone. And I don't know the process. I'm not a scientist. I just know what I read about. But that's the natural side of it. Then there's the molecular cloning, which touches on things like the self on the molecular level, DNA fragments, genes, things of that sort. Then you have the cell cloning, which is the stuff that we're starting to hear about in the news more and more prevalent now, like stem cell research, the manipulation of cells, and to try and combat and fight cancers and things like that, or to rejuvenate your body, to help you heal faster and things like that. Stem cell research has been going on for years, probably even longer than what we've known in the public. And they've made amazing leaps and bounds. And it's the real McCoy. It does help heal, and it does help stop the spread of a lot of cancers. And with that said, there's the Oklahoma Cancer Center, one of them here, I forget the name, just announced last week that they were approved by the FDA to start using this stem cell research to impede, I believe it was lymph node type cancers and liver cancers. That's huge,
wow,
brother. That's huge. And that's right
here,
right here in the back, the backyard. So I was excited to hear that. That's great news for a lot of people.
Yeah.
With that said, I know I told you I was going to touch base on some dates, but I wanted to take it a step further and go back, because I feel that it's essential for people to have an understanding of history, because history wasn't taught to us exactly how it unfolded. You know that, I know that. We've spent many a night into the wee hour talking about why so much is left out in history, because the most important things and some of the most relevant things in history are left out, because it gives us an insight and a knowledge that would help us grow, would help us advance, on not just as a species of human beings, but on a personal level, on a world level, a city level, community-wise. We've forgotten so much because they've hidden that from us. And I'm not going to say they is in like some secret society, but there is a reason that we have never been shown the light to our true histories. You want to touch on anything before I go into the ancient times in cloning?
No, actually, I think that's actually a great place to start. I do have some things to say about tonight's show, but I think they're more fitting for a little bit further than the origins of the cloning.
Okay. All right. Great. So I'll continue. From what I've gathered, and we did a lot of research on this, like we always do, just filling our minds. The Sumerian scribes, and the scrolls and the Sumerian tablets they found depicted certain images or certain individuals standing over certain images or taking notes. So there was a solar system in one, and there were so many different things. Where I'm going with this is we're going to let's take it back to Genesis 2:22. So everybody gets kind of a direction of where I'm going with this. In Genesis 2:22, and even if you're not a believer of God or the Spirit, it says, "And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made him a woman and brought her onto the man. Okay. Now, the reason I wanted to bring that up is because the Sumerians in 730 BC, which is almost 2 centuries before the Bible was even put together, talk about rib. And their definition of rib is life or hereditary, the term hereditary. So I kind of was like, whoa, that's kind of, I mean, it kind of ties together. And then to take it a step further, the Egyptians, their definition for rib is like inheritance or hereditary. So, and then the depiction in glyphs or hieroglyphs for the Egyptians is a bone. It almost looks like a bone with like meat around it. And the similarities. Do you see what I'm saying? It's just,
I do.
It was just so spot on. I was like, wow, okay. Maybe I'm onto something here. So then I kept researching more. And what I've come to believe is there's the fallen angels, which a lot of people are mistaken because it even says it in Genesis 6, 1-6, I'm sorry, where it talks about the fallen, the sons of God laying with the daughters of man. People often confuse, and I did too for a while, but the Nephilim were actually the fallen angels, okay? And the offbreed of the Nephilim and the women, the daughters of man, were something totally different. A lot of people would say it's argued that those were the Nephilim, but no, I want to say this right, the Raphaim or Rephaim.
Sounds right.
Those are actually what the giants were or referred to. And when the giants would die, since they weren't created by God, they were considered disembodied spirits. So they couldn't go to heaven, they couldn't go to hell. So they kind of just linger, right? So modern day people consider these demons, okay, if you follow the scripture. So with that stated, when the fallen angels came down, they taught man, multiple different things, from war to astrology, numerology. What's to say they didn't teach them DNA splicing and these things? Because obviously during the time before, this is pre-flood, the fallen angels and the giants were very much more active on earth. That's where we're getting the Sumerian culture, why you see some of the hierarchy of the Sumerians being so much taller and larger than life than the people that are around them taking care of them. You see one holding a lion, and it looks like a kitten. But the only reason I wanted to touch on that is because the word rib, and all three of them, because it's saying that God took Adam's rib. Well, the Egyptians, hereditary and inheritance. I'm just trying to say it over and over so it stays in their people's heads. And the Sumerians with rib equal life. So it all kind of ties together there. And with the Dead Sea Scrolls being found, the Book of Giants, the Lost Book of Eden, and things of that sort, it touches on all of this so much more. It's like so much of history, so many parts of history were left out. And from these, we're learning, wow, maybe there was DNA manipulation going on. We did have animal-human hybrids back then. Maybe these things weren't just myth or mythology. These were actual things that happened, because... Oh,
like the Minotaur and things like that?
Sure, absolutely. And mermaids and mermen. I mean, the fallen angels were doing everything to defy God at that time. And if they could take the form of anything that they wanted, what's to say they could take the form of the animal and then go fornicate with it, on land and in sea, and they're creating these monstrosities. and whether they be dinosaurs or, and it was what nice things. Steve Quayle talked about that in Gen 6. When these things happened, it wasn't like it was a pretty sight. They were creating some monstrosities. And so maybe they had the power of DNA back then, or the knowledge, I say the power of the knowledge. And that was all swept under the rug because they didn't want us to know, so we kind of forget about it. So instead of using sex to spread it, now we have the knowledge to do the cell, gene, and DNA splicing, and we can do it on a scientific level behind closed doors so the public doesn't see what's going on. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, like, if I was to walk up to the average person on the street and I would say, hey, when do you think the first insect, animal, mammal, human, or anything was cloned in the last 100 years? Most people, if they have any knowledge of it, would probably think of Dolly the sheep. And I think, wasn't that in the 80s? I'm not
I think that was like mid to late 80s, somewhere in there, if I remember correctly.
Okay. So, and I'm not sure. I don't remember. I should have probably took some notes and threw that date down. But I know with that said, the answer to that, from what I found digging around, is the tadpole and frogs in 1952. Tadpoles were successfully cloned, and they evolved and grew, or I say evolved, developed into the full stage of becoming a frog.
Right.
And the dates are numerous after that. 1963 in China, they did carp. Mice in 1986, on and on. They did a monkey embryo in the early 2000s, Indian bison, on and on. 2003, they did a horse. 2005, they did a wolf and a dog. And this is just public knowledge. You can find this information out. This is just stuff that's on that you can find for public resource that is fact. And then they did the camel, and then they tried to do that there was an extinct buffalo, the Pyrenean Iba. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but it only lasted like 7 minutes. And that's another thing we'll touch on too with cloning, is that some of it's imperfected to where, yeah, you can clone something, but it doesn't last very long. And that's what happened with this. It actually, I think its lungs collapsed. It just couldn't breathe.
Right.
From reading that article. And it just goes on and on and on, and as recent as 2017 and 19, where China has notably successfully cloned and recloned and created a family of like 50 pigs and successful monkeys. So if you got all this going on and you're telling me they're not cloning humans, or at least made attempts to, I'm not buying it, man. Not.
One thing I did read, bro, was that with a lot of these cloning, like I guess they've been most successful with the pig cloning,
right?
But with some of the other things like the sheep and the monkeys and different things, they had a very early onset of medical disabilities that humans or other mammals would normally not get until later in age. They have the onset of those things very early, like arthritis within months, for example. And that's still because I think within the genetic coding, there's still some frames of that they're missing. They're not 100% on. And what's scary to me is if they do clone human beings, okay, and they don't have this 100% like that, well, a cloned human being as a baby is going to develop all these problems, and then it's going to completely suffer.
Sure.
Especially at an age like with a baby, an infant, or a toddler, not to cut you off, but like a baby, infant, or toddler, You know, when they're feeling things or they're sick, they don't know how to express themselves other than crying. So can you imagine a baby with severe arthritis or a toddler with severe arthritis and has no way to communicate to you what's going on? That's torturous. That's horrible.
Yeah. And what's to say too? Here's my big question with the cloning thing is you're creating something. Where is that spirit coming from? Because yeah, man can create, but we can't blow the breath of life into that body. So something else has to be possessing that you know, what we like to refer, we always use the meat sack. You know, we have a spirit that's trapped inside this meat sack. We're spiritual beings, but we're inside this meat sack. So there is the question, if they are truly cloning someone, if they were to clone myself or you, well, okay, if it's truly a clone of me, what spirit is inside of there? Is it a disembodied spirit? You know? You know, it's not my spirit, because my spirit's unique and the only one of its kind, just like yours and everyone else's. So I'm sure God's not pleased if man's trying to manipulate man and splice and clone. So it's not going to just say, oh, you're cloning something. Let me run down there and put the breath of life into it. Spirit has to come from somewhere, and man can't create a spirit. We can create a body all day long. You know? That's why there's been so many failed attempts, because the problem with cloning is the wear and tear. It's not an original. It's a knockoff. It's swap meat Louie. It's swap meat Louie, baby. Yeah, it looks good, but it's only gonna, you know, it's not even going to last half the time. You know, so you know, you can buy a Rolex that'll last you a lifetime, or you can buy a Folex, which looks just like it, but it's going to probably break in a month.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
That's true. Absolutely.
So, and here's the thing too. I look at it cloning like this. Have you ever taken a piece of paper and made a copy of it?
Absolutely.
All right. The old days too, with the carbon. And as you copy that paper over and over and over and over, and you make copies of the copies, the picture gets less presentable, or the text becomes lighter and lighter to where the text doesn't exist anymore. So
yeah, the quality diminishes with each run.
Absolutely. That's where I was going to just say. I said, so as far as quality goes, it's diminishing rapidly. And that's what I found in this research time and again, over and over, with all the animals and everything that they've spliced and cloned. The quality and the life, it just diminishes each time they do it, and it's weaker and it's not strong, you know. So with that said, let's just say they are cloning humans, and it's in the news with the media nowadays. I mean, you got, even with that one kid, what's his name, Kid Boo, all right, he's a rapper,
right?
He came out and said, I mean, and if he's a liar, like you were saying the other night on our other show, man, he deserves an Oscar, because this guy had his story down. I'm second generation. This is my ID number. Da da da. Now he was on Vlad TV when he did that interview, and he has the IDs. And he's even said that he broke in to the facility back, because he broke out and then broke back in with his posse to show them. And there's footage of that. And there's even a video surfacing out there that one of his clones comes and sits down next to him, takes off the hood, and it's him. Now, did they manipulate the video? In my mind, yeah, probably. But the fact remains, not just him, and I say him as in Kid Boo, is coming out saying that, you know, because he's saying he escaped Clonate in Canada, which is a facility that houses clones and clones people. Sue Generis, Kodak Black, Gucci Man, Tila Tequila. Remember her? She claims to talk about the clone.
Yeah.
And then she got out of the deal. And, Bernie Mac, Dave Chappelle, Eminem. And Eminem is what really strikes the nerve. And you look back now, well, the real Slim Shady, please stand up. Please stand up. I mean, for years it's been conspiracy. Oh, man, that's not the original M. This is like clone version number 10.
That's very, yeah. It's strange how that all seems to surround like the entertainment world so much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being an Eminem clone. That would just scare the hell out of me.
Now there is a guy I want to touch on while we're talking about clones. There's a guy, Donald Marshall. Okay. And he has some videos out and some audio out. And he is basically calls himself a human cloning whistleblower. And that he was at the main compound or facility in California, I believe, is where it was at. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. And it tied in. He tells the story about Chris Benoit. Do you remember him, the wrestler?
The wrestler, yeah. He, I guess they say that one of the speculations is that he killed his wife and son and then killed himself.
Right. And here's the thing with that is, yeah, they're dead. But, and this is what caught me, man, when I started researching that. 14 hours before they were found dead, at 12:01 a.m., Wikipedia edit was made. A Wikipedia edit was made from Connecticut, from the WWE, that
wow,
his wife was dead. So, with that said, it made me go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Why would they have posted that? But they didn't. No one knew that they were dead yet, and the bodies were found 14 hours later. I just always found that odd. So,
I didn't know all that. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, so that adds to the story a little bit, and then it makes some of what Donald Marshall and Tila Tequila and these other people are saying. It makes you question, well, maybe they aren't crazy. Maybe they're telling a truth. And maybe there are people being cloned. And I guess the whole deal was there was a big beef with Chris Benoit between him and the Insane Clown Posse guys. And Donald Marshall does a pretty good job telling the story. And if you're interested in finding out about that, folks, go ahead and check Donald Marshall out. It's a crazy story. I don't want to sit here and bore everybody to death with just one story after another with things like that. But it's amazing when you start putting pieces of the puzzle together, how things start looking. You're like, whoa, this is actually starting to look like a painting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I found something else out that was super interesting. If you don't have anything to add yet.
Lay it on me, dude.
Kim Jong-un, okay? North Korea. Recorded, stated in an interview. It's a fact. You can find it. It's there. That his scientists were working around the clock with cloning because he was trying to beef up his ground military troops with super soldiers.
Oh, kind of like Hitler did with methamphetamines.
Yeah, or kind of like we were trying to do with LSD. And, I mean, so.
Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah. I mean, like
that's a prime one right there that I had forgot about, bro. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Jacob's Ladder. Yeah. But it's about that platoon during Vietnam. They pumped them up for all kinds of mad scientist juice to get them to be emotionalist.
Mm-hmm.
And and to just basically be killing machines. And the movie Jacob's Ladder was about the side effects of those drugs that they were giving during that time.
Right, right. Yeah,
Wicked stuff.
It is, man. It's buck wild, man. And like I told you, and we say this all the time. It all circles back to the same thing. It's all tied together. And until you start researching and looking at it, you can't start putting the pieces together. But then when you do, it's like having a map and you have it up there on the board and you got this piece here and that piece there and here and there. And you're like, oh man, it's coming together. Man, this is tied into this, which comes up here tied to that, to this. And then in the end, here you are sitting there sounding crazy at the party, half drunk. Everybody's like, hey, there's that guy who believes the Illuminati, or hey, there's that alien conspiracy guy. But all I'm doing is trying to find truths and share them with my friends and share them with my fans and share them with the people. So we're awake and we're aware. And cloning just totally caught me off guard. I mean, when I started doing it, I wasn't prepared. I didn't know it went so deep. And like when I was telling you, we have been cloning since the 50s that it's recorded in modern history here in the U.S. and abroad, China, Europe, things of that sort. So, yeah, I was like, wow, okay. And then when you start tying all the ancient text and hieroglyphs or hieroglyphs, however you say it, or however you prefer to say it, and the tablets and the drawings and everything else. And then when you notice key words meaning the same thing here and here and here and here, it's just, it's, I don't even know the word I want to use for it. I mean, it's real, people. I mean, it's in your face and it's there for you to digest. You just got to be willing to consume it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I agree, dude. That's pretty scary stuff. I mean, in my opinion, people go to a lot of extremes, but to me, that's the most extreme of all extremes.
Yeah. Yeah. We had talked about the cloning and we talked about them breaking down and not being as strong. Now, Donald Marshall had talked about this, and other people too that say that they're clones. That with each version, yeah, they do. They're not as sturdy, or it just the quality's not there. So, if you want to say, okay, I'm buying. All right, I'm going to buy into this one, and I'm going to believe it. So, if they've got somebody. And let's say there's 10 there's me right now, and then there's 10 clones of me. Then there's Nikki B, and then there's 10 clones of Nikki B. And the real rich passes on. Okay? I die in a car accident. But they want Rich to still be around because they want me up there on stage or in the movies. So they bring on the clone. Well, it's not my spirit that's going into that clone. Because my spirit's at rest. Okay, so
right.
what's controlling that clone? It has to be the disembodied spirits, man. It has to be. That's why they might sound the same, they might look the same, they might even have the same skills and talents, but it's not the same. That's why there's going to be different quirks. Every spirit is different. Even though your spirit can't go to one place or the other, it's still a spirit, and it's going to be different from mine, different from yours, from your mom's, your dad's, your neighbors, your sons, anyone's. So there will be quirks. And are they total, they don't have to worry about a demon or a greater demon doesn't have to worry about dominating you because there is no soul in that body. It's just a meat sack. So they just enter it, and voila.
Right.
Hey, Rich number 2, up to bat. Back on the podcast next week. Then something happens to me. I start, that one. So then that one gets transferred to the third. The third one's looking a little bit different, a little skinnier now. Hey, Rich done lost a little weight and got in shape. And man, his nose is crooked. And now he's got a scar above his eye. And he looks younger, but that's weird because, you see where I'm going with it?
I do.
So,
well, there's a lot of people in the entertainment industry that are suspected of being cloned or have sold their soul to get where they're at, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think the cloning and the selling of your soul, all that stuff kind of goes together,
Absolutely, man. You know what I found funny too, and I know because we've talked about this one, is the Bob Dylan was on 60 Minutes. And folks,
right.
You can go out and look this one up yourself. He just straight up says, the guy interviewing him was like, well, why do you still keep doing it at the age of 60 or at the age you are? He's like, well, it goes back to that old destiny thing, man. Keeping up my end of the bargain with the, the big chief, the guy who runs everything here and on a place you can't see.
Okay. Yeah, that's like the old school, Robert Johnson. I think that was his name. The black guy played the guitar back in the day.
Yeah. So why would he say that, though? You know what I mean?
Well, and it's funny you brought up the Bob Dylan thing like that too. That old school 60 Minutes. I saw a thing where he got like a lifetime achievement or a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something like this. And the guy came out, Bob Dylan came out on stage, and like he went to the wrong end of the stage. He turned around watching himself on the Titantron or the big flat screen thing. Instead of even looking at the crowd, he was had his back to the entire. Like he wasn't acting like a normal person by any means. Right. And I'm not even going to say it's dope because I doubt that guy even does dope anymore. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But bringing that up reminds me of the Robert Johnson thing. Supposedly, he met the devil at the crossroads and gave his soul. Mm-hmm. They say that he couldn't read music and he could barely play. He wasn't getting any gigs in any of the bars or anything like this. And he was a traveling musician, but they say that he disappeared for like a year.
Right. Right.
And then he came back and he was like this musical genius.
Yeah.
And what was that movie that they made about that? But they used the Karate Kid in it, Ralph Macchio. What was that movie? Crossroads. That's what it was called, Crossroads.
Yeah, yeah.
Not the Britney Spears Crossroads, people.
Mm-hmm.
The other one.
Right. You know what though? Too, there's another movie that gives homage to him too. Kind of gives a head nod. It's the one that had. Oh man, the one where they sing that song and they broke out of jail. Brother, we're out there. What was the name of that movie?
It wasn't Brother, We're Out There. That one was about with George Clooney and then they escaped from prison.
Right, that was it. But George Clooney, remember they're in the car at that one point and they stop at that four-way intersection and they pick up the black hitchhiker guy with the guitar. They're like, wow, that's an odd place to be finding somebody. He's like, yeah. And he was heading to the studio, remember?
Roughly, I do remember that vaguely, yeah.
And he kind of, they're like, what it's a weird place to be finding. What would you be doing out here in the middle of the dirt roads crossing like this? And he's like, oh, I was just on my way to the studio. This guy done talking to a man who said, I'm going to be something. So kind of like maybe giving that nod to where, hey, I just sold my soul to the devil. Now let's get to the studio.
Right, like kind of like just kind of hinting around about it.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, you got to check that scene out again, man. That's what I thought of. And the list is long too with people. Even now, I mean, you see a lot of these famous musicians. Beyonce, when she says it, oh, well, that's not me when I'm on stage. That's Sasha Fierce. It's somebody different. I
Oh,
couldn't.
her alter ego or
Yeah,
something
she's
like
like,
that. She says,
yeah, she's like, I couldn't do those things on stage, so Sasha takes over. You know, and then I forget which one of them was talking about. They have a little boy spirit inside of them that's mean, and he's the one that tells her to do stuff, or he takes over when she's on stage. Or Ariana Grande talking about, you know, not liking to be alone because she sees demons and stuff ever since she got into the business. And David Blaine admitting that he sold his soul on that morning show with Eminem's homie.
Oh, Sway.
Yeah,
Sway in the morning.
Sway in the morning. David Blaine's on there just openly throwing it out there about magic and, you know, having help from something on the other side. You know, and like I said, the list is long. Those are just a few of the people.
Do you record while the bus is moving, or does it have to come to a stop?
Yeah, well, sometimes they don't want to, and they're, you know, Gaga, we can't get, you know, the frequency's weird, and, you know, it's sounding a little bit strange, and I'm like, if you don't get this right now, I swear to Lucifer, I'm gonna, you know, I get a little bit mad.
Do you have a kitchen on the bus you cook?
There's no kitchen on the bus, but, you know, we'll stop in certain places.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, you know, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with you know, with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
You ever look at music that you've written and look back at it and say, whoa, that surprised me?
I used to. I don't do that anymore. I don't know how I got to write those songs.
What do you mean you don't know how?
Well, those early songs were like almost magically written. Darkness at the break of noon, shadows even the silver spoon, a handmade blade, a child's balloon.
Eclipses both the sun and moon. To understand, you knew too soon. There is no sense in trying.
This Dylan classic, It's All Right, Ma, was written in 1964.
Mouthpiece, the hollow horn, plays wasted words, proves to warn that he not busy being born, is busy dying.
Well, try to sit down and write something like that. There's a magic to that, and it's not Siegfried and Roy kind of magic. You know, it's a different kind of a penetrating magic. And you know, I did it. I did it at one time.
You don't think you can do it today?
Mm-mm.
Does that disappoint you?
Well, you can't do something forever, and I did it once, and I can do other things now, but I can't do that.
I don't know, and it all kind of ties together. You're right when you get to thinking about it. So, anyways,
well, you know, back to that Beyonce thing real quick. You know, I just saw a thing where they have Beyonce's daughter. I don't remember her name, but she's. I want to say she's somewhere around the age of 5, 6, maybe 7. Okay. And they got her doing one of the dances that Beyonce does in one of her videos in concert. And it's funny because, you know, Beyonce says that's her alter ego or her other whatever. Mm-hmm. And obviously, me personally, I don't feel that Beyonce is a good role model for her demographic. Her demographic of listeners is like the ages of 5 to mid-20s, right?
Right.
And let me just say, if I had a daughter, I don't want my daughter emulating anything that Beyonce does.
Right.
But then I think it's kind of sick and twisted too that she has her young child doing that. And
right.
And what's the connection if it's not her, if it's not really Beyonce, it's her other ego or personality or whatever doing it? Well, what about the daughter?
Exactly. Yeah.
Very strange.
It is a lot of strange things. There's a lot of things that are thrown in our face that people just ignore. And we were talking about this too prior to the show. When Lady Gaga is on that talk show and she's telling a story, and she's like, oh, and I swear to Lucifer, if they didn't get that thing moved, and the guy's like, yeah, and so like he just like totally like it, that happens all the time here in Hollywood. Everybody's swearing to Lucifer, you know.
Yeah, that's just wild, bro.
Yeah, and we even watched it too. I'm like, and then her and Miley Cyrus, they're pushing the Church of Satan, which is kind of weird. So yeah,
kind of my butt. That's totally weird, dude. I mean,
yeah.
and look at, I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff on Saturday Night Live, but you know, like every time you see The Rock, you see Kevin Hart. I don't know how many movies they've done together. I think they might have a thing going on. But anyway, I've seen The Rock numerous times on Saturday Night Live. You know, like one time he's wearing a shirt that's something about Satan, and it's got the pentagram with the goat head.
Right.
And then there's like another show where and it just blows me away that this is okay to put on TV, but they ban you on YouTube and Facebook and different things for saying some of the things that people say. But The Rock's on Saturday Night Live, and it's like he's doing show and tell with the classroom.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody in the class is like, well, what'd you bring? What'd you bring? This is a robot. He molests children. They're like, what? He goes, it's a robot that molests children.
Yeah, I remember that skit. I'm like, where are they
Come
going?
on, dude.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing funny about that. There's nothing hee ha ha funny at all about that. And I was like, and I guess who said it best? It was man, what is that guy? Dick Gregory. He said, they're sold out and their soul is gone when they get to dancing in Hollywood wearing dresses and and lipstick and dressing like a lady for a movie script or something like that. So I guess
I think they rite of passage. Once they wear the dress, they're in.
Right. Yeah. And how many movies have they done like that? And I've enjoyed the movies. I'm just saying. I mean, that one that had Patrick Swayze and the guy from Wesley Snipes and that other Latino comedian that's funny as hell.
John Leguizamo?
Yeah, the one he played the clown in Spawn. Love that, man. He played such a great character.
I don't think I saw Spawn, but if that's the guy you're talking about, he's pretty good.
Yeah, Spawn's a great movie, and it almost kind of reminds me of this because he's almost like the devil, and Spawn sells his soul to be able to get back to, he becomes like, I'll be a warrior of the dark. Just let me go back and see my children, my family one more time.
Yeah, wow.
So yeah.
It's funny you brought up the whole dress thing because I think I remember there being a skit on Saturday Night Live where Kevin Hart was wearing a dress and then The Rock kissed him.
Yeah, speaking of that, I hate getting off topic, but man, I love talking with you. And this is for the fans too. If any of y'all have never checked out some of Dick Gregory's recordings before he passed away, the guy that was recording him, and they would just talk about everything that was going on now, and it could have been politics, entertainment, whatever. Dick Gregory would give his view on it, and the guy is highly intelligent, man, and I love him, man. He was a great dude. He was an inspiration, man. I mean, I wish I could have sat down and talked with him, man, because the guy was full of knowledge, man. Just full of it. He'd open your eyes. Like, you would sit there, you could talk to him for 4 hours, and he'll get mad at you if you ask the wrong question. He's like, man, use your brain, common sense. Stop overthinking.
Dick Gregory was that old school guy, right?
Yeah.
Even old school rules, man.
Yeah, he'd say, stop overthinking it. He goes, if 1 + 1 = 2, then the answer is 2. I mean, it's common sense. If it's
leave it at
that. Spade is a spade. A 1 is a 1, a 2 is a 2, a cat is a cat, a dog is a dog. So yeah. But man, time is flying as it always does when we get to talking. I did want to mention one more thing about cloning, though. Folks, I know we kind of been a little bit all over the map tonight. I apologize for that. We have been super behind, and we have been crushing to get stuff done. But the woolly mammoth, they're talking about bringing back the woolly mammoth with cloning. Now, that kind of is treading on that Jurassic Park with me. I mean, where do we stop next? You know, it's also said, I was reading this article that there are scientists right now that they want to take the DNA from the Shroud of Turin and they want to try and bring Jesus back.
I read some bits and pieces about that. Are these people out of their mind?
Yeah, dude, it's so taboo. I mean, it's just crazy.
Let's just, if we go biblical with this for a second, okay?
Yeah.
The resurrection of Christ is not up to mankind. That is up to God himself.
Right.
And you know, I'm not going to go full-blown religious on this, but if you've read the Bible or you believe in the Bible or any of this and believe in God, then you know that by doing that, you're kind of sealing your fate. I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, you know, once you open up the Pandora's box, man, I mean, you can't close it. And I think that man has done that now. And we're so far gone. That's why, I mean, you know, what's right is wrong. What's up is down. We're just so backwards and upside down. It's horrible. I'm not even going to touch on it because I like to have fun and I don't want to bring the fans down or get political with it. But guys, do your research, man. If this kind of intrigues you, you know, check out Donald Marshall's videos. Look up about the cloning of Jesus and the woolly mammoth. Check out the Sway in the Morning David Blaine interview. You know, watch the Lady Gaga stuff. You know, this stuff's out there. Go find it and listen to it. It's pretty interesting. And it's just another tunnel in the rabbit hole that we shot down and tried to back out of real quick, because we could do a show every week about this and touch on different things.
Yeah, we could.
I mean, it's wild. But that's what we do, you know. Nikki B, thank you again, brother, for coming and joining me tonight, man.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. I love being a part of your shows, and I just want to thank you too, because you know I'm gaining a lot of knowledge through these shows. I've said it before. A lot of these topics that we cover are things that not only do most people just not think about, but I lump myself into that category as well. A lot of this I don't think about on a regular basis, or even just periodically. We get wrapped up in our lives and what we have on our plate immediately, and we tend to not think outside of our own personal bubbles, and that kind of is a roadblock for our thinking and our realization of what is actually going on around us. And you touched on this a little bit ago, that this information is in our face all day long. We just choose not to pay attention to it. Right. We're too busy Facebooking and showing people pictures of our kids and letting everybody know that we're at Starbucks, we're at Denny's, or we're at Motel or wherever, you know, and we don't stop and pause and actually take in what surrounds us and grasp that in a whole. And I hope that the shows that we do are maybe opening up people's minds a little bit from their head, you know.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you 100 on that, brother. You know, it's just that, like we say it all the time, dude. And I say we because you say it, I say it. Guys I know say it. The average American is a sheep, man. They're sheeple. And they stick to that herd with their head down. They don't want to look up and notice. They want to stay content in their little bubble in this me first selfie world that we've become. There's little to no human interaction. I mean, you know how I can tell sometimes? I'll be in a store and I'll hold the door for anyone, but it's especially the older people. When I hold the door, they look so surprised. They're like, why, thank you, sir. I'm like, ma'am, all day in May, every day until the day I die, I will hold a door and let somebody go before me, whether they're 2 years old or they're 200. I was just brought up that way. It's a respect thing, especially women. I was taught to open and close doors for women. I was taught to wait and let a woman go through or hold the door and let her go through first. These are just simple things. And one thing that really irks me, and I just let it go now, but it used to bug me a lot years ago, is when I would hold the door and these younger kids or the younger generations, they would go through, they wouldn't even give you a nod or thanks. It was like, yeah, that's right. Like they expect me to, like they're just expecting it. They're entitled to that. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I do know what you mean. It's funny. No, because look, today, okay, I went to the gas station.
Yeah.
Pumping my gas. On my way in, I noticed there was a lady behind me, walking into the gas station as well. So she was like 10 paces behind me, but I stopped for 2 seconds out of my day. I stopped for 2 seconds and held that door until she could grab the handle, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I paid for my gas. I'm walking out. 2 chicks are walking in, and did they bother to hold the door for me? No, the door damn near slammed in my face.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something, but I thought to myself, is it going to do any good?
Right. Well, that comes with our age, man, and wisdom. And, you let things go because, you're like, what good's it going to do? I mean, unless they want to wake up, unless they want to allow seeds to fall on a fertile soil and grow, they're just going to lay there until they start to grow one day, or a bird's going to come along and pick that seed up and move on and take it away from you. The old saying, man, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Exactly.
So, but man, like I said, brother, fans, we love you. You guys have been supporting us. We thank you very much. What we do need is for people to start subscribing. So click that subscribe button, hit that bell icon, like it or don't like it, and leave some comments. Give us some feedback. We love the feedback and comments. We're actually starting to get a little bit more. We get tons of messages, PMs, emails, but I want to see you guys posting on the actual videos. Let us know what you think, what you would like to see, or what we can do better to make the show more entertaining for you.
And can I add something to that? I just want to let people know, like, we're not really doing these shows for ourselves. I mean, a lot of this knowledge we already have, and we already share amongst each other and our other friends and family. But I actually take enjoyment out of sharing knowledge with people. So if somebody's able to watch our show or listen to our show and walk away with it, taking something positive for themselves to learn, mission accomplished.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel about it.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. And with that said, brother, once again, thanks for coming on. And folks, God bless, stay safe, and good night.